Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Bernstein, and I'm going to talk about the Hütt Passivhaus 01, which is about creating an inspiring home for a family of 5 that is beautiful, fun, but mostly inspiring. A beacon of hope because climate change is irreversible at this stage. And as architects, I believe we have a profound role to do whatever we can to instigate change in society. And the one thing we can do easily is to try and inspire people. So residential construction makes up more than 1/3 of the overall construction industry, or 60% of buildings. And so to showcase that to the end customer, to showcase them what can be done in terms of sustainable construction methodologies at a small scale is as, if not even more important than on the big projects, I believe. Now, to give you some context, this is a train line at the back of our property here. We've got a cheese wedge site here. This is a big apartment block, 10 stories at this end, 3 stories at this end. And then we've got individual housing around that. And what we're trying to do really with our passive house is mediate between these parameters and surroundings and trying to heal the gap, this urban junkyard that was there right in the heart of Coburg, in walking distance to all amenities. So an ideal location to address urban densification. And here you start to get an idea of how well the new home sits in its environs, as if it's always been there. So after demolition, we were left with what could almost be described as a walled garden. And that was our starting point into the design journey. Creating this large brick wall around, particularly along the front here. And then we've sculpted into that to better connect to the outside and bring the outside in. The form factor is an important design indicator in Passivhaus. And so you arrive at the thermal envelope, which you see here in pink, clearly defined and with a quite efficient external surface to volume ratio for better thermal performance. So with Passivhaus, it's always crucial to incorporate this from a very early stage on and to have the whole team and all the consultants be part of it. The tapering ridges are playing with the site geometry, with the triangle, and they respond to the train line. But it's not just the roof mediating, it's also the scale of the design. So you see the house appears to be almost a single-story volume sitting up on this brick-walled garden there. And finally, the steepness of these roof gables, they allow us to utilize the height and the volume rather than valuable inner city floor space. And utilizing building components that are built anyway in one form or another, like these attic spaces, that means you don't have to spend extra energy to manufacture more. And building less is one of the most sustainable things you can do when it comes to construction. Biophilic principles at the core of this project. Landscape is everywhere with green walls or planters or outlook to nature. Not a single window needed screening because they're all carefully designed around sightlines. We've got natural materials everywhere, easier boards, and any remaining potential off-gassing is offset and cleansed by the internal plants. This is a quiet roof garden to the master bedroom, our Zen roof. And this is a rainwater garden that collects the cool southern breezes and brings them into the living space. The different garden zones in the north garden make the spaces more usable and are better proportioned by dividing them up into different areas. In terms of materials, we've translated the predominant materials from the neighborhood into a contemporary building based on sustainability. So there's brick, there's metal, and there's horizontal timber. The recycled brick, of course, saves money, but it also allows us to inject history from other buildings to live on in this building. So we've gone out to demolition sites and collected these bricks, and we've mapped them on a map and brought them to site and put them here, which I think is really nice. And finally, the most important thing is it's a zero carbon material at this stage as it comes to its 2nd or 3rd life, because all the embodied energies have been there for a long time and have been used up basically or offset. We've punched these holes into that wall to connect the private with the public realm and used recycled windows for that. The second material is the vertical metal cladding. There's wood fiber behind that. And wood fiber insulation is a great material. It's got lots of thermal mass. It's got acoustic properties. It's a natural material, a carbon store, and it's breathable. So if there's any condensation appearing in a high performance wall, which is always a risk in high performance building, that can travel through the wood fiber and can come out in the cavity behind the metal cladding. And finally, the horizontal timber boards come from sustainable sources. They are chart timber on the outside. And as they come to the inside, they are stained cradle to cradle certified floorboards to combine the outside and the inside into one. CLT is a modern interpretation, again, of traditional materials. Prefab panels save you time and money and add precision. A huge carbon store, biophilic material, natural, doesn't really require energy to produce it.
One of the best things about CLT is the wood itself contains half its weight in carbon locked up for its life.
Thanks, Peter, for those comments. And it's got excellent acoustic properties, of course, and a really good solid feel to it. So let's have a quick look at the floor plans. North is up in the corner of the triangle, and there's a little entrance and airlock in this area, sorry, where you can control the incoming weather and at the same time welcome people and get rid of the things as you arrive. So your bags, your coats, everything. So everything in this house has its defined space because it is built on the idea of build smaller and build better. We've got a footprint of only 78 square meters internally for 5 occupants, over 2.5 stories. And that means every space needs to multitask. And you can see that, for example, this sunken living space here is a really tight footprint, a really tight floor area, but the hallway sort of becomes, the edge of the hallway becomes a seat that adds to that space. Dining and kitchen open themselves up to the north garden and really sit outside more than inside. Upstairs, the bathrooms are in the center of the building, stacked on top of each other to keep pipe runs short and heating losses small. Children's bedrooms are double story, again, to get away with a smaller footprint. There's an activity area on the main level, and then there's a loft area with a bed above that, interweaved with a playful net, making it safe, but also utilizing the space to provide an additional area to hang out in. And to finish off with some of the other sustainability features or criteria that we've applied. So it is a certified Passivhaus premium. It's the highest category and at the forefront of regenerative design, which I believe needs to work with both on a design level, but also on a technical level. So in this house, we really have a great balance of the pure design measures, but then integrated with active systems and with passive systems. There's no thermal bridges. The CLT structure is completely wrapped in insulation and wood fiber insulation. We've done air tightness testing. It's about 40 times better than your standard new built Australian home. Triple glazed windows, there's no heating requirement. There's very little or no cooling requirement, and that's due to a mix of passive and active shading integrated into the facades. We've got cross ventilation with a natural thermal chimney. We've done life cycle assessment, and it is a carbon neutral, actually a carbon negative building. We've achieved the highest rating, the A++ on the LETI scale.
1 minute remaining.
It is fossil fuel free, an all electric building, solar, battery. We've used the concrete with 70% cement replacement. There's a green roof, water sensitive urban design with the rain garden with a series of water and detention tanks. And finally, the pond with the food production and integrated aquaponics system. Just to finish off on that little footer in the corner there. So we have shared our journey with Grand Designs Australia, and that comes back to the idea of inspiration and really getting word out there that we can celebrate lifestyle while healing the planet. And that is a beacon of hope, the Hütt 01 Passivhaus. Thank you very much.